Here's Paul. Dallas has a foul to give. Booker on a three. He got it! Devin Booker gives Phoenix a 1-point lead with
5 from long range. Durant's got 11. Craig goes down. Durant has got a highlight.
Remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Wow!
Bryant for the win. Bang! Kobe Bryant has hit a shot at the buzzer.
Welcome back to the SportBits Podcast, everybody. This week we got a very interesting episode for you. As most of you know, trade deadline came on Thursday. So we're going to talk about that. But first, briefly, we're going to mention All-Star Weekend, talk about some of that stuff here. So just to jump right into it, three-point contest right now, which I think is one of the more exciting events. Fred VanVleet, Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, Zach LaVine, CJ McCollum, Patty Mills, Karl Anthony Towns, and Trae Young. So who you got?
First of all, Cat in the three-point contest is goofy.
I thought that was a little interesting as well.
And there's so many competitors, because usually I think it's usually 5, and this is like 7 players. So honestly, I got my underrated pick right now is Fred VanVleet, because he's not known for the best shooter, but I think with no contest, no defense on him, he's gonna knock down all his shots.
No, he's a knockdown shooter for sure. Honestly, with that, I'm trying not to put my bias in here, but I think I got Patty Mills. Patty Mills is also a knockdown shooter, but I mean, this man's crazy. So we'll see what happens with that. But something else that's interesting, they're doing a new format for the skills challenge. They're doing a team-based format. So we have Team Antetokounmpo, where we got the Antetokounmpo brothers all playing. Alex Antetokounmpo, actually, funny enough, plays in the G League. He's not even in the NBA, but he's still participating, so good for him. Team Cavs, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and then the rookies, Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, Josh Giddey. Honestly, I see Team Rook taking this. I'm not going to lie.
Team Rook. I'm biased with Scotty Barnes. I'm a Scotty Barnes fan. So
yeah, Scotty Barnes is good, but I don't know. I feel like they got the speed, they got the handles. I feel like they just got it all. I think they're going to take this one.
Yes, sir.
But the hands down the most interesting, in my opinion, for the All-Star Weekend is the dunk contest. Usually, except this one, I'm a little bit confused about. So we got Obi Toppin, which great pick, I think. Jalen Green, fantastic. He's awesome, great, explosive athlete. Cole Anthony, which I haven't really seen him dunk too much, to be honest with you. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And then we got Juan Toscano Anderson. I was a little confused about that one.
I would have switched out Cole Anthony for my pick for the dunk contest is Ja Morant. That man's vertical.
Absolutely.
That man's vertical is crazy.
I don't know why. I don't know if he decided not to participate or if they even asked him. But
I mean, it's probably because he's playing in the All-Star game. But I wish the All-Star people in the All-Star game could play in the skills challenges, just because some of these players could be amazing. Like imagine Giannis and not JT, but Ja going at it in the dunk contest.
Yeah, or even Donovan Mitchell dunk contest.
Yes, sir.
Well, actually, no, I think they can because Fred VanVleet's in the three-point contest and he's also in the All-Star game.
Well, I think it's because he's a sub-in for the injured players. Like if you're a starter, you can't.
Oh, yeah, you're probably
my knowledge, starters can't be in the dunk contest, for example.
That's weird, and that's dumb. NBA fix that.
Exactly.
So, just for the sake of time, we're gonna throw up the roster for the All-Star.
Whoever. I don't know where it's going to be with the two-person Zoom. I haven't done this in a while, so I will figure that out in editing.
For that, but so it's interesting. I know you had a comment.
My comment is that Team LeBron should have been Team Curry because this man's has been playing so much better than LeBron. And second of all, this team, quote-unquote Curry, as I'm calling it, is stacked. And then minus the part that LeBron should have drafted JT on Team Curry, but that's my only thing because I think JT should have been on Team Curry and they would have smoked everybody on Team KD. So,
yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting one. We got KD's team is looking a little young, but my main comment that I wanted to talk about this were if anybody watched the All-Star draft, you will see that Kevin Durant specifically passed with his last pick. He picked Rudy Gobert over James Harden, and everybody, including LeBron, thought that was hilarious. He had to hide his face during it, but that is the perfect segue into trade deadline talk. So this trade deadline, for the first couple hours, didn't seem like a whole lot was going on, and then we hit a classic 1 o'clock scramble where teams just started throwing out whatever they possibly could for this deadline. Really interesting stuff here. We're going to talk
and of course, we're not going to talk about all of them because I would love to talk about the Celtics pick trades, but there's a lot more bigger trades that we need to talk about that happened earlier in the week that need to take priority.
So much going on. So just to jump right into it, we got Nets and 76ers blockbuster trade, easily the biggest trade of this deadline, probably one of the biggest trades in the past decade. I would say this is absolutely massive. Other than the James Harden trade to Brooklyn originally, and now him getting shipped out of here. So we got Harden to Philly, which is pretty obvious. And then Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond coming into Brooklyn as well. 2 first-round picks for Brooklyn, a 2022 unprotected pick.
I can explain this if you want.
Yeah, so you obviously wrote this. The way
I wrote it because it was
pick trading is insanely confusing.
Yeah, because I don't know why they did this because they guarantee two first round picks. So either their options are to do 2022 unprotected or they defer to 2023 unprotected and they keep their 2022. And then the 2027 pick is top 8 protected, but it'll roll over to 2028 if they choose to defer both picks. So it'd be either a 2022 or 2027 or a mix match of like 2023, 2027 or 2023, 2028. And then obviously the 2 picks turn into 2 seconds and $2 million in 2029 if they choose to defer. I think that's what that last part was about. I'm not 100% sure, but that whole thing, yeah. I don't know why
so much stuff going on.
I assume they did that. Oh, they also Harden. They threw in Paul Millsap. Wait,
that's right.
They threw in Paul Millsap.
They did.
But
so basically,
my thing
minus the whole pick stuff, which is insanely confusing and obviously not the biggest part of this, is the fact that right now, I think, actually, I want to hear what you think first. Who do you think won this trade, if anybody?
To be honest, I think Philly won just because they kept Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle. They kept both of those young players.
Yeah, which is what they wanted to do.
The only really real loss they got was Seth Curry, which I think is obviously replaced by James Harden in terms of production-wise. And then obviously they got rid of Ben Simmons, so they got rid of the locker room nightmare, off-court nightmare, and Andre Drummond, who's an oaf essentially on the court. So, and they got Paul Millsap, who can fill in 10 minutes a night to be a backup center because Embiid's taking most of the minutes anyway. So I think Philly won this. Plus, who got rid? Okay, so the Brooklyn got all the picks. I don't think Philly needs to pick too many. I mean, they lost 2 first-round picks, and that's not that much relative to what they could have lost. They could have lost more if Harden's value was higher. But that's
so what I was kind of upset about this as a Nets fan a little bit in terms of the picks. So I really liked Simmons, Seth Curry. I know we crap on Simmons all season, but he's excited to come play in Brooklyn. He's a great defender, and no matter what anybody says, he still has that athleticism. So I think in the right mindset, he's going to come in. He's going to do really good things. So I'm excited for that. Seth Curry, great shooter, good point guard. Andre Drummond, he's going to fill in probably some center minutes or whatever. He's still a good rebounder, but he can't really do much else. What I didn't like is the fact that we got 2 first-round picks and this whole slew of confusing garbage about it. But I feel like Brooklyn right now, we don't need picks because we're not in any sort of build mode right now. We're not trying to get these first-round picks that we're getting. Obviously, it's nice to have them, and I guess the only thing you can really say about them is they're trade assets right now because we have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry now, LaMarcus Aldridge. That's pretty much the starting lineup right there. There's no need to, have these first-round picks, in my opinion, just because we already are in the win-now mentality, and we're going to be in that mentality until KD's contract expires, pretty much, which is going to be in the next 3-4 years, I think. So I'm assuming that Brooklyn's going to defer these picks, which is probably why they had these stipulations. But if not, then I didn't like the whole 2 first-round picks thing. I would have liked to get Matisse Thybulle or Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, I think in my to my understanding of how phases of teams go, it's usually when they build up, they're the Nets were doing building draft capital, trading away D'Lo and everybody, and now they're at the phase 2 point, which is they need to win now with the players they got. So essentially, they need to win now they were supposed to win now with Harden, Kyrie, and KD, but now since they're kind of starting the downslope of we're just gonna get whatever veterans we need to try to win another chip before we need to start rebuilding. So because basically their rebuild starts when KD is done. KD and Kyrie are done.
Yeah.
So they need to have picks ready for that. They need to have young players ready to trade. So right now, I think the picks are a good idea. I think the best option is to defer those picks and save it for that rebuild mode and
they have to defer these picks for sure. Otherwise, they're useless.
And let Kyrie and KD win you want a chip or two in the next 3 to 4 years before they leave. I think that's the best option for the Nets right now. Philly's gonna win a chip guaranteed in the next 3-4 years with Harden and Embiid.
I don't know about that. Now, if we get the annual Embiid injury.
Oh, that will kill it. But I'm just saying, like, if it's healthy.
That's totally done because James Harden right now, I'm not his biggest fan right now, and for pretty obvious reasons.
You were a big fan before the trade. That's all I'll say.
I was, but now I don't like him, and I don't like him because
your fandom's coming in.
I don't like the way that he,
I
kicked
love
his
this
way
light.
out of here.
I love this light. I don't know if you saw it.
I don't like how he forced his way out of Brooklyn, and also to me at least it seemed like it came out of nowhere. In the past week it was like, okay, Harden might be upset, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe we'll keep him and just kind of see what happens, wait for KD to get back. And then 3 days pass and it's like Steve Nash is like, we're not trading Harden, and then the trade deadline comes up and then we trade him, and it's like, what the hell? So I don't like how Harden kind of forced his way out of here. Personally, I think he could have done it in a much better way. He didn't formally request a trade because he didn't want the public backlash, even though Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out Harden wants a trade out of Philly but hasn't publicly said it, which in my opinion is publicly saying that you want to trade. Whatever about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my opinion, I got Brooklyn winning this, not just because I'm a Brooklyn fan, but I'm really pulling for Ben Simmons to come in with the right attitude and kind of play the role that we need him to play,
No, I agree.
So enough about the Nets and Sixers.
I think we said everything we needed to say, essentially.
Pretty much what everybody has already said about it.
I think another dumb trade not dumb, another blockbuster trade. I think we should talk about.
I think I know which one you're about to go into. Go for it.
So, my next biggest trade that happened this trade deadline was the Pacers one when it came to Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday to Sacktown for Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. And Kings, what are you doing? You lost your best young asset for the future when you could have. And I think a lot of NBA circles and Twitter were talking about Halliburton could have easily been switched out for De'Aaron Fox in this trade. It could have been Fox, Hield, and Tristan Thompson for Sabonis.
And it should have been Fox because now you have Sabonis and Fox crowding the paint.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I don't see it working.
Imagine if Halliburton was their guard in the perimeter and Sabonis dominating in the paint with some stretchability for both of them. They could stretch the floor, both of them. This is going to be an amazing lineup if they had Halliburton and Sabonis. This is why I'm so flabbergasted that this is this happened. This could have been a social better.
Everybody is pretty shocked about this. This came out of. I mean, we kind of were expecting the Sixers to do something. Not the Sixers, the Pacers. Sorry, to do something. And I'm happy that they did. If they want to blow the team up, go ahead, blow it up, right? Get rid of Sabonis, get your people back, whatever you want to do, picks. Yep. They traded LeVert as well to Cleveland. Yeah. But they got rid of freaking Halliburton. I can't.
And now the Pacers are 10 times better. Imagine Halliburton, Miles Turner, pick and rolls with Buddy Hield stretching the floor with his three-point shooting.
They're going to be
dominating.
Now I think the Sixers, they blew it up and pretty much rebuilt in one trade.
Yeah.
So
the Pacers
I think the Sixers absolutely came out on top with this trade. I think
You mean the Pacers?
Pacers, isn't that what I said?
You said Sixers.
I keep saying Sixers. I don't know why, because I'm looking at the Sixers trade is the one right under it. Pacers absolutely came out on top for this one. I think the Kings have they are the biggest losers in my opinion for this trade deadline just because of this.
Yeah. Well, there's another big loser we'll talk about, but my last comment is that we forget that Rick Carlisle is coaching the Pacers right now. And imagine all this talent with him.
Mm-hmm. Finally, he came into this team, and then they were like, "Oh, we're thinking about blowing it up," and he was like,
"No, and this is what you do. This is what you do to make sure Rick Carlisle stays with the Pacers right now because this is an amazing move."
I think the Pacers right now are on massive upward trend, and they're going to be dangerous in the East right now. I know for the first half of the season, we were talking about them being very disappointing and bums.
Bums.
But this is scary now for the Pacers, and the East has only gotten more competitive, especially with LeVert going to Cleveland now.
Yes. And another dangerous. Well, actually, let's talk about dumb trades because I was gonna backtrack to that because I said another dumb trade. But I love how you captioned it. Dallas does what? Because
Dallas does what?
What?
Literally.
Is Tingus Pingus to the Washington Wizards for Dinwiddie and Bertans. Also, the Washington Wizards do receive 2 second-round picks in this.
Yes,
so,
everybody, you did hear about that. You did hear that correctly. Porzingis, one of Dallas's, duo that they needed to work together with Doncic and Porzingis. They traded away half of that duo, and then got Dinwiddie and Bertans. By no means is Dinwiddie a bad player. Dinwiddie is great. Yeah. But is Dinwiddie and Bertans combined worth Porzingis?
Yes. I honestly think
so.
Again, they both these 3 players are kind of like stuck in like their hype and fame came from the past. Those 3 years ago, all these players were like top tier talents. Now they're kind of like mid tier talents. So that's why this trade, that's why it went through.
I disagree. I think Porzingis is still the talent that he should be hyped up to be. His only problem is injuries. If he doesn't get injured, then he's going to be pretty scary. But right now, because he's having a good season when he's not injured, but that's the problem. He's an egg. Mm-hmm. And then you talk about Dinwiddie. If you want to talk about mid, fine. I'll give you Dinwiddie's a little bit mid, but he's still a solid point guard. But also Dallas doesn't need a point guard right now. They have Doncic, and also I'm pretty sure Hardaway plays the point as well.
Hardaway plays a shooting guard, but the thing is that Doncic plays shooting guard as well. So I think they want Dinwiddie at the 1. They want Luka and Tim Hardaway at the 2.
But even then, Luka plays small forward if anything, and he's still the biggest facilitator on that.
So you can load up with Dinwiddie, Hardaway, and Doncic.
Crazy lineup. But I don't know if I see the ball movement working out too well for that. But Bertans is a shell of his former self. He is not
$20 million
good of a shooter. Shell. He probably has one of the worst contracts in the league right now. And I just don't really see these two matching up for Porzingis. I think it's great for Washington. Washington's only better because of this, But
let me just double check his contract. I said $20 million. I'm pretty sure that's his contract. I'm gonna double check before I say anything. Let's see, contract. But point being, again, you were right. Shell of himself, and I can't find his contract. There it is. Oh wait, no, his contract. Oh no, his contract's 16 mil. 16 mil.
Still too much for him, man.
Yeah. No. Well.
But also, why I think Washington came out from this trade is also because of another trade that they made where they got rid of Montrezl Harrell, which I liked Harrell for them. Harrell was pretty solid, but fine, if you want to get rid of him, whatever. Whoa. So they gave him to the Charlotte Hornets, and they got Vernon Carey Jr., who is pretty much a nobody right now. He was a rookie last year. He plays like 5 minutes a game. But they got Ish Smith back. So this is Ish Smith's second stint in Washington. But Ish Smith is arguably the best backup point guard in the league.
Yes.
And they just got rid of Dinwiddie, so they don't have their starting point guard. But they have Ish Smith, who's a really solid point guard. And then they bring in Porzingis. So that's why I kind of think Washington came out on top with this trade specifically. And also, they kind of got better throughout the trade deadline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think they got rid of Harrell just because they didn't want to have Porzingis and Harrell in the same lineup. I think that's my thing. Mm-hmm. And I think Ish Smith is a great addition. Again, him, Dennis Smith, and I think that's it for I can think of backup point guards. Maybe you can consider Tyler Hero backup point guard. But Tyler Hero technically is a backup point guard. I'm pretty sure he plays the 1 off the bench. But he's untouchable right now from Miami Heat. And as he should be, he's having a great season. But I know you had this big 4-team trade that you wanted to talk about. You want to get into that? Yeah. So I'm just going to list out where these people went. So the Kings received Dante DiVincenzo, Trey Lyles, and Josh Jackson.
Read off who's in the trade and then.
Oh, okay. So the Kings, Bucks, Clippers, and Pistons were all involved in this trade. Mm-hmm. First of all, I love how Woj put Marvin Bagley Jr. It's Marvin Bagley III. I kept that in there just because of that.
He put Marvin Bagley Jr.?
Jr. Yep, and then he had to correct himself. He had to correct himself multiple times because actually
it was funny.
Hot take. But I think Woj does not read his tweets. I think he just he copy and pastes it from Word doc, and then he might. Because the Word doc doesn't autocorrect for names like Junior and stuff.
So the only reason why I think he does read his tweets, but I think because the trade deadline was so hectic, he was just sending stuff out. And I know multiple times when he sent out a tweet that he had to delete, the next tweet where he corrected everything, all the comments are like, "We saw that. We saw
that. We know what you did. It was so funny reading because I remember the Pacers trade. It was some bonus Jeremy Lamb and Jeremy Lamb for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield and Tristan Thompson. And I was like laughing. I was like, wait, is there two Jeremy Lambs now? Or am I tripping?
No way, there's two Jeremy Lambs. All right.
But anyway,
enough about Woj not using autocorrect.
Yeah, but let's get back into this 14 trade. So we have the Kings receiving
Bucks, Clippers, Pistons.
Kings, Bucks, Clippers, Pistons. But the Kings received Dante DiVincenzo, Trey Lyles, and Josh Jackson. The Bucks received Serge Ibaka and two future first-round picks and cash. The Clippers received Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye, and the Pistons received Marvin Bagley Jr. Now, after saying the Kings were trash, they just got Dante DiVincenzo and Sabonis, so they could be doing something with that. And Justin Holiday and Jeremy Lamb are great guards off the bench. But then Bucks getting Serge Ibaka, I think, is one of the low-key best pickups right now for for a smaller trade, just because they need a center that isn't Bobby Portis, because Brook Lopez is injured and he does nothing now, especially because he's old and he can't stretch the floor and move as fast as he used to. Clippers, Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye, good. Rodney Hood's a great bench piece, but Semi Ojeleye non-existent after he left the Celtics. And Pistons, Marvin Bagley Jr. It'll give him a place to get minutes and develop. That's all I'll say.
Marvin Bagley III, call him Junior again.
Marvin Bagley. That's what. God damn it, Woj. This is what happens when Woj gets all the crap wrong.
Woj. We should get Woj on the show.
No, you know what? If we were big enough, I would gladly hit up ESPN. Can we get a feature with Woj real quick just to talk about the trades?
Woj should come on and defend himself. We're giving you some slander right now. You should come on and defend yourself.
Defend yourself, yes. But what are your thoughts on this 14 trade? Because I think the winners of this trade obviously were the Bucks. I think everyone won. Honestly, I don't think anyone was a loser per se. I think everyone got what they needed. And they got rid of people that didn't really need, per se, in their lineups. Like Serge Ibaka, the Clippers didn't need him. Mm-hmm. So that's just my thoughts.
I agree with you. I don't think nobody stands out in terms of wow, this team seriously got this much better, or this team got significantly worse because of this trade. It's a 4-team trade, which I love all these multi-team trades because they get hella confusing sometimes. Mm-hmm. But so I like the Kings getting Dante DiVincenzo because they got rid of Buddy Hield, so they needed another shooter to come in, and Dante DiVincenzo is a pretty solid spot-up shooter, catch and shoot kind of guy. So I think that was good for them. Trey Lyles and Josh Jackson, in my opinion, you can kind of take him or leave him. Trey Lyles is a pretty good backed-up guard, but other than that, nah, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like the Bucks getting Serge Ibaka, but they did need to replace Brook Lopez, like you said, but Brook Lopez can still stretch the floor a lot better than Serge Ibaka can.
Well, they're both pretty immobile, so
yeah. So we'll see how.
As I've learned with Al Horford this season, so.
Yeah, we'll see how he fits into the Bucks system, but he's going to be a good rim protector, so that's what they need.
Yeah.
And then Clippers. Really, this is meh. Rodney Hood. Okay, Semi Ojeleye, like you said, So Clippers, if anybody lost this trade, I think it was the Clippers, but they got rid of Serge Ibaka, who they didn't need, so I think that's kind of a W for them. And Pistons getting Marvin Bagley III, I think, is going to be huge for them. Now, finally, Cade has a pick-and-roll partner.
They had Jeremy Grant, but he's been injured this whole season, so.
Exactly. So now, Jeremy Grant did come back, but even still, he's taken a lot more threes, So now Marvin Bagley III, he's a pretty pure center. He's got, good post moves, good rebounder. So I think now that Cade has a solid pick and roll player, the Pistons are hopefully going to be not as garbage. And Cade's going to be able to flex his playmaking abilities a little bit more.
Yeah. But that's all the trades do you want to go into this do you want to go into the Blazers?
Yeah, we can talk about this one briefly. This one wasn't directly at the deadline, but still pretty big. Yeah. So the Blazers blew up their team halfway, so they're keeping Lillard. They're going to build around Lillard,
which they've tried for the past 10 years. That's over exaggeration, but you know what I mean.
Finally, they were they were trying to make Lillard and McCollum work and then build around them, but now I think finally they're okay, that's not going to work. We got to build around just Lillard. In my opinion, Lillard is kind of a difficult guy to build around because he demands the ball so much and is such a ball-dominant player. But he's still a pretty solid facilitator, so I think they can maybe make some moves with that. But the Blazers absolutely lost this trade. 100%.
Really?
100% in my opinion. So McCollum goes to New Orleans. They get Josh Hart, who's a pretty solid forward. Okay, he's a good double kind of guy. He'll get you 10 and 10. Pretty solid. Tomas Zadarsky, absolute bust this season. Okay, he was pretty solid on the Bulls last season, but now I don't see it. Then they got a first and second round pick, so they're gonna have to wait a couple more years to be able to build around Lillard. They didn't get any assets back that are really gonna jump out and say, okay, this is gonna make the team a lot better. They're probably gonna get, or no, I guess obviously the trade deadline already passed. I don't think they got rid of Nurkic. So they tried to keep a pick and roll partner for Lillard, but in my opinion, they should have just blown the whole thing up.
Turnover machine, use of Nurkic. Anyway, that's
Big
my
facts.
thing about him.
Big facts.
So.
But yeah, I don't like this trade for the Blazers. I don't think they got enough in return for McCollum. I think the Pelicans also. You know what? No, this was a bad trade. I'm gonna just say it out there. This is.
I was gonna. God damn it! I was gonna say
bad trade now, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because a lot of people were talking about how McCollum and Zion working together is going to be really dangerous. Except we don't know when Zion is going to return.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here thinking like, all right, well, you got this, you got McCollum right now, who's not exactly young. He's not old, but he's not exactly young either. So you don't know how much longer you're going to really have him for a solid 20, 25 a game. And then you got Zion coming back. You don't even know when, So I don't know. I just really don't see this being a good trade for either team.
I think my thing was that McCollum's value is not as high as everyone thinks it is. And, they got a fair return, honestly. I think it would have been, if his value was higher, it would have been 2 firsts instead of a first and a second round pick. But, that's all they could have gotten. And they should have traded Nurkic. And I know they're probably going to keep Anthony Simons as their young piece, I guess. So, I don't know. Lillard's gonna be.
Now that you think about it, you realize.
But no, it's
really
the thing that Lillard's never gonna be happy with what the Blazers do because they're just fundamentally bad. They just need they need a fresh start. They just need to blow everything up.
They do have their interim GM right now, who they're pretty confident in to build around Lillard. But
GM Joe is okay. He did something pretty good at the deadline, I think, relative to most interims and most.
I think not even
GMs.
Did he make a good trade. What I'm happy about is that they finally did something. Where they finally grew a pair, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And traded away who they thought was going to be part of their.
Oh wait, didn't they trade away Norman Powell? Crap.
Oh yeah, wait, they totally did.
God, you got to remember that trade now because that's also another thing that goes into his real resume of his trade. Let me just pull it up real quick because that's the one. Oh yeah, there it is. They traded to the Clippers, so the Clippers did get Norman Powell. Wait, this is a five-player trade. Here, so I'm gonna read it out real quick. All right, so the the Blazers receive Eric Bledsoe, Justin Winslow, and Keon Johnson. Norman Powell and Robert Covington. So we did forget about that. So they got rid of 2 veterans who were making a lot of money, and now they're getting essentially just salary filler and just being 1-year contracts. And Keon Johnson is a young player.
That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to build cap space, or
that's what it was.
Get cap space. Yeah, for the Blazers.
So that makes sense, honestly. Now with these trades, it makes more sense. They traded away all these players minus McCollum, minus Lillard, but they should have traded away Nurkic as well to get rid of that cap space as well.
And what I'm thinking is, Lillard is 31, 32 right now. So they don't build a good team around him in the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's my
window is slowly closing.
That's exactly my exact agreement. Is 3 years is what I give this Blazers team for they have to blow it up completely, go start at square one. But yeah, that's a good thing I remembered that the thing because it looked alone with the McCollum trade looked stupid, but I realized they had to clear a bunch of cap space.
So good for the Blazers. I think they came out better than what they came into for the trade deadline. But still, right now they have to make some sort of moves next season. Obviously, trade deadline's over, so they can't do anything now. But next season they have to make some big moves. Otherwise, Lillard is either going to request a trade, or in the next 3 years, like we said, his window for being as good as he is now is going to close, and he's not going to be able to win a championship.
Yeah. Since we talked about can we talk about quickly the Celtics, or is that not in the cards? Yeah. This is open format, I guess, and we can go a little longer.
At this point, we pretty much blew open the show notes that we had.
Yeah, because the last thing we had was the Lakers stay neutral. They didn't trade away Westbrook, but no one wants Westbrook, so that's kind of self-explanatory.
I had nothing to say about that except for you just reminded me that I saw a tweet where it said, I can't remember who it was from, but it said that the Lakers were interested in a John Wall and Westbrook swap with the Houston Rockets.
Which I wish they did, because John Wall will be 10 times better on the Lakers than he is right now.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not doing anything right now. But I thought that was funny, because then the next sentence was the Rockets were not interested in the swap because they've already tried with Westbrook. And I think Westbrook right now is – I don't know what's going on with him, but I don't think that – I don't know. I think you need to build a team around him. I don't think you can fit him into a system. I think you need to build around him.
Yeah. That's fair. Anyway, Lakers, I don't know what the hell they're doing. But
they're screwed.
But the Celtics, I think we did really good. So I'm just going to talk about
Tice back.
Yeah, we got Daniel Tice back, but we traded away Bobo, PJ Dozier, got picks for them, so that's good. We got picks for them. We traded away Derek White for Josh Richardson. I'm doing this off memory, but Josh Richardson, Bruno Fernando, and Enes Freedom.
Fun fact, Enes Freedom Cantor was waived immediately after getting traded to
but
immediately waived.
So we essentially got rid of people who were essentially Josh Richardson, I think, is the only loss we had in our trade deadline. And we got Derek White, who's an amazing defender, an amazing playmaker, who can easily step into the role next to Marcus Smart and get the load off of Marcus Smart and, do it great. And then Daniel Tice, better backup center than Enes Freedom or Bruno Fernando will ever be. So I think we upgraded slightly. Slightly. That's all I'm going to say. We upgraded slightly, because everyone trashes on Derek White, but I think he is...
Derek's great.
After watching the clips, after watching the highlights, and people, I was watching some podcasts, listening to some podcasts and stuff, and talking about his evaluation. He's actually really good. I didn't realize how good he was.
Derek White is he's a bucket. Derek White is a certified.
And he's young, and he's 24 right now. He fits in the timeline of Jason Tatum, which is also another thing people forget about this trade, that Derek White fits into the timeline of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because Marcus Smart is older than those three.
Derek White's 27, but still young.
27, but that's still better. I think that's around Marcus Smart's age. I think Marcus Smart is 20.
Smart was 29, 30, but
yeah, he is at the age of he's not going to be there as long as
Marcus Smart is also 27 actually. So yeah.
Yeah, so he fits. So yeah, he's in the same timeline as Derek White. But point being, I like it. We're not going to win a championship, but I still like what we.
You guys are making moves now, and I think that you're in a better spot than you were before the deadline.
Yeah, and I think having a former Spurs player is really going to help Ime Udoka when it comes to implementing the system he's trying to implement, which is similar to the Spurs. Yeah. So that's honestly another good little tidbit about the trade. But that's it. I didn't know. Did you want to talk about any other trades that
Nothing else really jumped out to me. Just to close it off, I wanted to hear your biggest loser of the trade deadline and why you think that, and biggest winner and biggest loser.
Overall, biggest loser. I'm torn, because it's either the Blazers. I don't know. I think it's either the Blazers or the Kings, honestly. Even though after looking at DiVincenzo, still it helped it, but I still think the Kings lost the most out of everything. And then obviously biggest winner, Philly. That's a hot take, but I think Philly. Philly won the out of all, even if you're calling about people who did trades, I would say if you include all teams, I would say the Heat won, because they didn't trade away anybody and they didn't acquire anybody who would hurt their team. But if we're talking about people who did trade,
teams who actually did something,
Philly won. They're not going to need the picks with Harden and Embiid, and you know what? They got rid of Ben Simmons. Good. We were all the Ben Simmons podcast might be over. Actually, no, it's not.
No, Ben Simmons podcast is only getting stronger.
It's only getting stronger because he's on your team now.
I'm a Mets fan now, so it's going to be dangerous.
Never mind. Yeah. We're going to have this man on more often than we ever had in the past. Absolutely. So.
Absolutely.
That's that. How about your biggest loser and biggest winner?
Biggest loser, I still got the Kings. They traded arguably not only the best young talent on their team, arguably some of the best young talent in the entire league. So they got rid of Halliburton. They got rid of Hield, who's a great shooter. So I think the the Kings absolutely are the biggest losers here. Okay, they also got Sabonis, who's good, but he's going to crowd the paint with De'Aaron Fox, I think. And then you have my biggest winner is the Pacers, funny enough, because they had a whole swap thing. But the Pacers, so they got rid of LeVert, which kind of sucks because LeVert was good for them, but that's one more contract they don't have to pay. They got Rubio, who's injured, but they also got Jesus Christ, who are we talking about? They just got oh my God, what were we talking about?
They got Halliburton?
Who did the Pacers get? Yeah, the Pacers got Halliburton. Jesus Christ. I literally like trying to look for who was moving, and it just like doesn't work. So they got Halliburton and they got Healed. So like I think the Pacers are only going to get better now.
Agreed.
And they have, like you said, Rick Carlisle. So I think Pacers are definitely better for this right now.
Yeah.
So
Sadly, I just saw the Karis LeVert loss as a big thing, and also like keeping Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle were like my biggest points to why Philly won.
Yeah, I was pretty upset that the Nets didn't play a little bit more hardball with that. I think they should have gotten one of them. I think Matisse Thybulle would have been great for us.
Yeah, they would have had to keep Curry, though. They would have kept Seth Curry, though, in the trade.
Which I would have been fine with. Okay, we have Patty Mills, who's a good spot-up shooter and point guard, so I think we could have been fine with that. But it's whatever. Okay, I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for this second half of the season for the Nets right now.
I think our teams are really in a good spot right now.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, James isn't here to talk about his team. I know they made a couple moves.
It was Javante Carter, or crap, I can't even remember now. The trade was so minuscule.
But the Suns didn't need to do anything. They were already hot, so I'm sure he didn't really have too much to say about that.
But
interesting trade deadline. Big blockbuster. It was capped off by a big blockbuster trade. Not a whole lot was moving around until about 2-3 p.m. Or 1-2 p.m. on the trade deadline day.
Yeah, when your team made the biggest trade of the debatably, a lot of people are saying it's the biggest trade of the century, but I don't know about century. Yes. People are saying that, but
decade, yes. Century,
I think for sure.
But we'll see what happens now. Second half of the season is coming up. Make sure you tune in to the SportBits Podcast. Okay, we're going to be here every single week.
I'm hoping to get this back on schedule. We'll be back on schedule, hopefully.
Hopefully, until finals come up. Once finals come up, that's going to blow a massive hole in our schedule.
We'll just try to record a smaller episode or something. But we are going to try to get back on that. But yeah, I'm hoping to make some stuff. I don't know how I'm going to edit this thing, but yeah, I'm hoping to keep this thing rolling. You will
figure it out, my friend. You're smart. You go to college.
Exactly.
So yeah, make sure you give us 5-star review. Spotify, Apple Podcast. Go check out sportsbitspod.wordpress.com.
Yes, sir.
Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Do all that good stuff. And that's all we have for you this week.
We'll see y'all. Peace.
All right, peace.